only live once, exile. Make your choice. A simple ultimatum. Leave with your life and a meager reward, or risk it all for a chance at ungodly riches. For each trial you accept, the challenge grows. But fail, and leave with nothing. Reap the reward you deserve. Ultimate reward requires ultimate risk. Face the ultimatum. Ultimate reward requires ultimate risk. Face the ultimatum.
What drives you, exile? Is it justice? Revenge? Honor? No. It is power. We felt your deeds felt their shockwaves ripple through the void. You have our attention. Now you must keep it. Your limits will be tested. The stars themselves will bear silent witness. How far will you bend before you break? Drives you, exile? Is it justice? Revenge? Honor? No. It is power. You have our attention. Now you must keep it. Your limits will be tested. The stars themselves will bear silent witness. How far will you bend before you break?
What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention. A fellow exile. One more fool under Zana's sway. Allow me to destroy you before she has a chance to betray you, too. At least, my way will be quick. You slew my friends! You brought ruin to my world! You have invaded my very sanctum. I should be furious, and yet I feel nothing. How boring and small. Destroying you is as easy as flicking a pest. Did you really think this would work? I transcended all this long ago. Feel the thrill of
The void. Why run? What's the point? Your lives are meaningless. Watch beauty crumble.
impressive. But now you will fight on my lands. You assume I share the same...
Hey guys, Dante here back with another little video, and in this one I'll be talking about the build that I was currently playing, and I still am for maybe like a day or two, and to be honest, it's probably the most damage I ever had in the build. Like, it's absolutely disgusting, and I don't think anything comes close to it as in terms of single target damage and clear speed. Of course, you have like the Mage Blood boys, but that is not the case because this build is cheaper than a Mage Blood. If you craft all the gear yourself, it could be even cheaper than a Squire. So, without any super expensive uniques, let's get right into it. So, the gist of the build is a cast on crit bow raider. We are using Detonate Dead as the spell that we are triggering. And we are using Rain of Arrows to trigger it, combined with Blast Rain. We swap Blast Rain with Rain of Arrows for single target because we use Anomalous Blast Rain, which has a 5% chance to cover enemies in Ash on hit. Okay, so how this build works, basically. We are using, first of all, we're using SNS Chant, in which we have our Phantasmal Desecrate. Phantasmal is each corpse spawn has a 20% chance to be a Forgotten Corpse. Forgotten Corpses basically have more HP, which makes our Detonate Dead do more damage. So, how does this work? Basically, we attack with Rain of Arrows, and we spawn these corpses on the ground. When Rain of Arrows hits a target, and it crits, it will proc Detonate Dead, which means these corpses will explode. They will overlap, and they will do tremendous amounts of damage. That is basically the gist of the build. And for single target, you will be swapping Anomalous Blast Rain, which doesn't have as much AoE, but this is why we're using it only for single target, because it will cover enemies in Ash, which will in turn make them take more damage. So, why Raider? We are going Raider because of the Ascendancy, Way of the Poacher, Avatar of Slaughter, and Avatar of the Veil combined with Quartz Infusion. So, why this? We are going with Way of the Poacher and Avatar of Slaughter because we're stacking Frenzies, but we're not pathing all the way here to use Discipline of Slaughter or the additional Frenzy from Savagery. Instead, we're going to path all the way up here, and we're going to get into that in just a bit. Okay. So that's how the build works. You just basically spawn corpses and stuff like that, and then the Rain of Arrows crits and it detonates the corpses. Let's get straight into the gear. We are using a Shaper Bow with the socketed gems are supported by level 18 cast on crit, which basically gives us like a 7 link. We are how do you craft this bow is basically you just spam WoW essences with the increased spell damage until you get the good prefixes such as damage penetrates, +1 socketed gems, and of course the mandatory level 18 or 20 cast on crit. Then on the suffixes, you usually do prefixes cannot be changed, reforge attack or speed, and hopefully get an attack speed and double damage. I got that, and then I also got the cold res, which is unfortunate, but then you do like again another prefixes cannot be changed, and you ashling, and you can get some good mods. Some good mods are critical strike multi when a rare unique enemy is nearby. Chance to deal double damage while focused is also one of the best mods that you can get for this build. Now, what is focus? Focus is basically this little button here, and you get this skill whenever one of your items that you equipped has the chance to deal whatever while focused. When it says while focused, you will automatically get this skill here. Now, when you are focused, you basically press this button, and for 4 seconds, you have 36% chance to deal double damage, which is very nice. So yeah, that's the bow. Let's go into the gloves. In the gloves, we have a temple mod with warlord influence and crit chance from ashling. This is very, 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 very difficult to craft, and probably I wouldn't recommend trying this because if one thing fails, then your entire item is bricked. So, but in case you have the funds and you want to try and gamble some craftings, let's get into this and let me explain to you how you can craft this. Basically, you want a glove with the temple mod, which is cold resistance, is increased damage against with hits against shield enemies. Now, this can be 3 temple mods: this one, the lightning one, and the fire one. It doesn't matter which one, as long as there is a second high tier resist on it. You can use your harvest craft, change one res to another. For example, if I would use change cold res to fire res, it would change the cold res and the temple mod to the fire version of it. Okay, in case you didn't know this. So yeah, you want those 2 suffixes, and the prefixes don't really matter. You just want a open prefix to craft the suffixes cannot be changed, and then you ashling, and hopefully removes the meta mod. And when you unveil it, hopefully again you get the crit strike chance and the elemental damage if you did a critical strike recently. Once you have your suffixes in place and everything's okay with them and you're happy with it, then you warlord slam it when the open prefix, and hopefully you get spell damage. Okay, now my prefixes were absolute trash, and I slammed the warlord exalted orb on it, and I got, I think, melee damage or something. Completely useless. So I did the suffixes cannot be changed, and I did the reforged caster, which is the single caster mod on gloves with the warlord influence that can roll. So it's guaranteed to give you spell damage when you do a reforged caster. Now, luckily for me, I got T2 life, which is extremely, extremely lucky. Like, these gloves probably use the RNG for my next league. Crafting these, and the last mod that I wanted to craft is damage during flask effect. Again, these are very, very expensive to craft and very risky. Like, if you've failed ashling, basically your glove is dead, right? So do it at your own risk. For the belt, I am using a double influence Stygian Vise with Redeemer and Warlord. Basically, I awakened orb the increased damage with hits against shield enemies with the fire damage, and when I woke it, it bricked. It basically gave me 3 prefixes, 3 suffixes, so it was dead. So I recrafted it, and I just spammed the fire fossils on it, and I got T2 fire damage with T1 increased damage against shield enemies. I did get T1 like elemental damage for attack skills, which doesn't really benefit this build at all, but it's nice to have and probably has some resale value. After you have your prefixes, you do prefixes cannot be changed, and you do reforge speed. And the only mod that it can give you is increased attack speed during flask effect, which is pretty big. for this build. I mean, not for all builds, but for this one it's pretty big. And then you just craft some resistances that you're missing. Again, it's pretty easy to get even a better build than this, but I'm just like, I'm happy with the build what it is. Okay, for the boots. Now, again, I got kind of lucky on these. Oops. I Awakener Orbed Tailwind with Onslaught boots, not elevated, no nothing. And then luckily on the Awakening, I actually got T1 increased the effect of non-damaging elements, which basically increases the effect of Scorch, Chill, Frozen, Brittle, Shocked, and Sapped, which we're using almost all of them except Ignited, right? But Ignite is the damaging element, so that doesn't really matter. And then I did this, and I did the Suffix Cannot Be Changed, Reforged Crit, Suffix Cannot Be Changed again, Ashling, it removed the meta mod, it gave me the double movement speed, like you see here, 30% increased movement speed, and 11 increased movement speed if you haven't been hit recently. And then Crafted Life, and it's a pretty GG pair of boots. Ideally, the enchant you want with this is the damage penetrates elemental resistant enemies elemental resistances if you haven't killed recently. That is the best enchant that you can get for these boots. For the quiver, I am using a very basic quiver, nothing too fancy here. Bow fires additional arrow, which does not benefit the build at all. I just got it and kept it. T1 life, fire damage to attacks, which doesn't benefit the build. Global crit multi, onslaught, and res. Now, I just wanted like high life and movement speed with global crit multi because quivers can now roll only critical strike multiply with bow attacks or something like that, which does not benefit the build at all because we get all the damage from the spell portion and the corpse explosion from the Detonate dead. So bow crit does nothing. So how you craft this quiver is you use essences, you spam essences until basically you're happy with it. You get high life, maybe movement speed, maybe, I don't know, something that you find fine, like attack speed or something, doesn't really matter. You just spam essences until something hits that you're happy with. For the chest piece, I am using a elevated increased effect of non-cursed arrows from your skill, which is a Redeemer mod, awakened with base attack crit from the Hunter mod. Pretty basic. Like I wanted the elevated effect of non-cursed arrows for just POBing, and I saw that the difference between the non-elevated and the elevated effect of non-cursed arrows from your skill is basically double, right? So the T1 increased effect of non-cursed arrows versus the elevated one basically doubles your DPS with the difference between the mods. So I mean, you know what I mean. But once you get that, you do prefixes, suffix cannot be changed, a reforged caster, it guarantees you the additional curse mod, and then you do another suffix cannot be changed, and you do ashling, and you get like some good outcomes. Some of them are like chance to avoid ailments, percent life, and then you craft life, and then you got yourself a pretty nice chest piece. For the helmet, we are using Ascendancy Chant. Again, this is the way we generate corpses without struggling or self-casting or doing some weird stuff, okay? For the rings, I'm using a Shaper and, what's his name? Elder Ring. Basically, I woke orb the level 12 Assassin's Mark with the Elder Critical Strike Multiplier, which is global, which is very nice. And luckily for me, I got plus 2 life for each enemy hit by your attacks, which is great. And then I did Suffix Cannot Be Changed. And basically, I got a... I did a Veil Chaos, like this. Suffix Cannot Be Changed, Veil Chaos, and I got the life. And then I did a Leo Slam in the intervention, and it gave me mana gain for each enemy hit by your spells, which again helps sustain massively. And then I crafted non-channeling, so we don't have any issues with mana. For the other ring, same deal. I bought a synthesized ring with curses enemies with elemental weakness on hit, and then I just threw a bunch of fossils at it until I got like high tier res. I couldn't get T1 because the item level of the ring does not allow tier 1, but I'm happy with double T2 and T1 all res. And then I did some catalyst on it to boost my resistances even further, because you're kind of gonna need a lot of resistances in some places. And then just crafted cold and lightning damage so we can apply brittle and sapped. Alright, for the amulet is very budget, basic, like all fire, all dex skill gems work together, and then whatever hits hits. No, it didn't bother. If you wanted like a more a better amulet, you could do prefixes cannot be changed, reforge crit until you get like crit chance and crit multi, or just a high level crit multi and then some resistance, stuff like that. But again, I'm happy with the build as is. It doesn't need more damage like you saw in the video. It just like deletes bosses. You don't need more damage. It's fine. Okay, so that's the thing about the gear. For the flask, I am using a Jade Flask for more evasion. Wise Oak because we are having our fire res the highest. Again, to benefit from Wise Oak, you need the resistances numbers in this bracket here. Fire to be the highest so it penetrates the enemy's resistances, right? Then I'm using a fast Quicksilver, that's about it, a Sirus Promise, and a Onslaught Flask. Because we didn't take the Onslaught Ascendancy, so we need Onslaught somehow. Cinder Swallow sadly does nothing for us because we're not igniting corpses, we're not igniting enemies or bosses. So Cinder Swallow sadly does not benefit it, and since they removed the crit part from it, it's kind of a dead flask. So use a normal one, gives you immunity to something, it's better. Alrighty, so let's get into the gems, right? Like I said, we are using Rain of Arrows in our bow, supported with cast on crit from the bow, and for supports we're using Awaken Spell Cascade, which gives us a bigger area for clear, right? This is strictly for clear speed, and I do recommend it, otherwise the clear will kind of suck. I'm using Divergent Inspiration for some reduced mana cost. I'm using increased critical strike supports just to get crit capped. Detonate Dead, and of course Awaken Fire Pen, which is probably the best support gem for this one. And yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so those are the links in our weapon. For the gloves, I'm using, you can see I'm using our specters here, which is not normal for a raider. Basically, I'm using a lithomancer and a stone skin flare, which when you have them running around you, it gives you a chance when you're in a map or fighting Sirus or Maven or something like that. When you attack the boss, it gives you a chance to spawn their corpses like this. And lithomancers and stonekins flares have the highest percent HP specters in the game. They have more percent HP than the crabs. That's why I'm using these and not the crabs. Basically, whenever you spawn one of these and you detonate them, you're gonna see the difference in damage when it chunks like this much from the boss's HP, right? So that's why I'm using specters. And that's why I'm using anomalous minion life, anomalous raise specter, mid shield, and anomalous some lightning golem for more attack speed. Now, the important part is they don't die, right? This is why I went a full 4 link with mid shield and minion life. It's because without these links, they constantly died. Like every 2 maps, they were dead. Like no cap. This was pain. So I decided to go full on support with them with anomalous minion life and mid shield. And ever since then, they didn't die. They can stand like close to Sirus tornadoes. They can tank meteors and stuff like that from Sirus, and they won't die anymore. They got like 600k EHP, so it's fine. I do recommend this setup, so you don't have to go into delves to get yourself some new specters when they die. Okay, in the boots, I'm using a portal and Righteous Fire, which I pop on bosses when possible. Dash and second wind just for more mobility. And in my chest piece, I'm using auras. I'm using a Enlighten level 3, Grace, Herald of Ash, which currently I do not have enough mana to use, but maybe you guys can figure out a way to use Herald of Ash. It will give you more spell damage, but it will not increase the damage of your corpse explosions, which I will explain in the POB. Precision, so we can get accuracy capped and more crit. Divergent summon Skitterbots. Now this is important because the Divergent version of Skitterbots, minions have 10% increased effect of non-damaging elements on enemies. Basically, it gives you more DPS. So try getting this version. If it's very expensive, I do recommend buying Prime Regrading Lens and try gambling for one. The weight is not that bad, and I got mine on the first try, hence I got this one. So that's how I got mine. I don't know how expensive they are right now. Okay, they're pretty expensive, so I do recommend buying some of these and trying your luck. And then I got Anger as my last aura. In the helmet, I am using, again, the way we spawn corpses. It is Phantasmal Desecrate linked to Spell Cascade, not Awakened Spell Cascade, and Arcane Surge, so we can get some damage whenever we spawn corpses. And Inspiration again for whenever you use this, it gives you inspiration, and this has inspiration also, right? Yeah, and then you get both, they both benefit from inspiration. Alrighty, so that's it for the gems and how the build works. So basically, like I said, you use SNS chant with this to spawn corpses, and then your Dead deals all the work. Hopping into the skill tree, we talked about the Ascendancy and why we're going this. This one is really good for spell suppression, combined with one of Masteries, we're gonna get that. And 50% chance to avoid elemental ailments while phasing, and you get free exposure. Plus that. Now, 50% chance to avoid element while phasing, combined with the 20 chance to avoid elementals while you have elusive. That is 70%, and then 35 from the chest piece, 100%, 105% chance to avoid elemental ailments when you have elusive, which is basically all the time. So you're kind of element immune. Okay, so we pathed through here, got some life. We pathed here, got the big life, big accuracy, big crit, and the frenzy. And we also got intuition, which gives you a chance to suppress spell damage, evasion, and life, which is very, very nice. For the mastery here, we took the plus 50 life. Precision has increased mana reservation efficiency, and 25% crit multi against unique enemies, which is good for single target. And over here, we took the new spell suppression wheel, which is fantastic. It gives you huge survivability boost. And also it has this amazing mastery with crit chance is increased by chance to suppress spell damage. This gives you so much crit, it makes it so easy to cap crit, it's just not even funny. Like, legit. For the jewel here, I'm using a Little Pride, which gives me here double damage, Fizz taken as fire, Fizz taken as fire, totem placement speed, which is nothing, fire res, and strength, which this build kind of needs a lot of strength, so it's more than welcomed. I do recommend buying one Lethal Pride and then divining it until you get some good results on these nodes and something that you're happy with. Alright, then I went here, I took Revenge of the Hunted with the Grace has 25% increased mana reservation efficiency, pathed all the way here, took Charisma, Reservation Mastery, I took increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, pathed all the way up here, took these two nodes, which is crit chance, crit multi, and elemental damage. Then all the way up here, these two nodes give you a lot of sustain, so I do recommend taking both. I tried unspecking out of this one, but I've been really struggling with mana without it. So I do think this is kind of mandatory, to be honest. Even with the rings that I have with mana and life gain for each enemy hit by spells and attacks, I'm still struggling to sustain. So these two nodes are very well welcomed. Over here, I took Blood Drinker with 10% increased max life and reduced life recovery. Another Frenzy. And then we patched it all the way up here, took this big life wheel, no mastery taken here because there's nothing really that we can benefit. You don't have that much mana to benefit from the maximum mana, maximum energy shield, so it's not worth it. Over here, I took Snowforged. If you level more, I would probably take the All Res if you're struggling. Or you could get reduced reflect elemental damage combined with the Pantheon, so you can do LE reflect maps. You can do Fizz reflect because you don't do that much Fizz. So if you do the reflect mastery, you'll be able to run any kind of map. Then I took influence, and I took auras from your skills have 15% increased effect on you, even scaling more effect. And then pathed here, took Throat Seeker and all the nodes. If you get another level, you could get like, I don't even know what you can take here, like 100% maybe crit against enemies on full life, but your crit cap, so this is all up to you. And then I pathed here and took Undertaker, which you don't normally take on a normal raider, but again, this is not a normal build. Undertaker gives you, like, the small nose, this one is nothing, it doesn't give you anything, you don't benefit because you don't consume corpses. Corpses you spawn have 10% increased max life. These two do benefit your build because the corpses that you spawn from Desecrate have 10% increased max life, which is pretty big. And then you take Undertaker, which causes Unearthed to have plus to the maximum corpses allowed. Normally, Unearthed has 10 corpses, but now with the Undertaker, you have 12, which is really good quality of life even for clear speed and single target, because the overlapping and how you detonate them, it basically gives you a lot more damage. So I do recommend at least Anointing Undertaker if you don't want to spec into these, but then you lose some annoyance from Heart of Flame. So POB it, figure it out, do it to suit your playstyle. For me, this worked. I stuck with it. If you figure another way to get either anointing it and specking those points somewhere else, feel free to do so. Let me know in the comments. All right. So for the jewels, I already talked about the Lethal Pride. Do it again. Double damage. Fizz is fire. Fizz taken is fire. Fire res and strength. If you get more double damage, the better. For the large cluster, I'm using Disorienting Display, Prismatic Hurricane, Smoking Remains. Now, I took all this because it gives you res, damage, and Smoke Cloud on kill plus blind, which is good for survivability, okay? For the medians, I'm using typical medium with clusters, pressure points, quick getaway, pressure points, quick getaway, and then I'm using a interrogation jewel, which says cannot ignite, chill, freeze, or shock, but you do Scorch, Brittle, and Sapped, which gives you a lot of benefits. Like Scorch lowers the elemental resistances. Hits have a lot of crit when Brittle, just 3% Brittle gives you like 5% base crit or something like that. It's crazy. And Tapped makes enemies deal less damage, which again is a good boost for your survivability. And for the Watcher's Eye, I am using a double anger, damage percent fire damage, and damage penetrates fire resistances. You could do something else if you don't want to do the double anger, but the mod from anger that you do want is damage penetrates. I don't know how expensive this one is at the moment. I can't even search for it, but I think it's like, I bought it for like 6x or something like that. Could be more. And for the other jewels, I'm just using your typical spell damage, crit multi, max life, and yeah, spell damage, fire damage, multi, max life. So this is the things you want for your rare jewels: spell damage, fire damage, crit multi for spells, global crit multi for fire skills, and max life. So these are the things that you want for your rare jewels. All right. So that being out of the way, let's hop into the POB. All right, here we are in the POB section, and I'm going to show you how to calculate most of the stuff. You can see here like the damage is like 10.5 million, but you saw in the video it's way more than that. I think maybe like 50-60 million or something like that, because the way bosses melt is just absolutely unethical. So oops, all you here I see is you see all the items that I'm using. Sirus Promise, Wiseoak, the Flask, whatever. This is basically the gear from the build, and I'm gonna show you how to calculate stuff. So you go to Blast Rain and Detonate Dead, and you see here that it has two portions: spell damage and corpse explosion, right? So let's say for the spell damage you have like 10 million, right? Then you got another 15.6 million or 16 million full DPS with the corpse explosion, so that's like 25 million, which can be more, right? Which can be a lot more, and I think it is, because the way bosses melt, like I said, it can't be just that, right? Like I timed my Maven, and comparing it to Kobe's 12-link sword, which I do love that build. I love Kobe, and I like his content and all that. I timed my Maven, and it was about 4 seconds faster than his, right? And that's where 12-link sword. Of course, the memory games matter, so that's like it's not fair. It's not a fair comparison, but I'm just saying that the damage could be more, and not could, but is more than what it says here. Okay. So this is so you see it has two portions of this. So how do you calculate, for example, the enemy corpse life? You go to here, you select your race specter. I already have it, my Stone Skins player, but you won't have any specters here. You're gonna go here and you're gonna look for the Stone Skin Flayer, which should be somewhere here. What is it? What is it? Stone Skin Flayer. Okay, so you select it and you click add. You already have it, and then you're gonna click save. Okay, then you're gonna go to calculations and you're gonna go race specter, and you're gonna select the race specter and you're gonna click show minion stats, right? And over here you have the life pool. This is the amount of life your specters currently have. As you can see, they are very tanky thanks to mid shield and minion life. Now, these bad boys have like 112k life. When they spawn and you detonate them, it's gonna do a lot of damage, because this doesn't really calculate the increased life from these nodes from Undertaker and stuff like that, right? So that's how you calculate how much HP your specters have. All right, so we got that out of the way. So as you can see from the configuration, I already inputted the enemy corpse life 112k as per the specters, but this is not taking into calculations the increased corpse life, right? And let's say you're doing like the feared and you kill Triula first, and then you can use her corpse to detonate next to other bosses, which is basically gonna just obliterate them, right? Because Triula has like what, 35 million HP or something like that. So yeah. Frenzy charges take, because we are a raider, we always have frenzy charges. Are you focused? Yes, as you saw in the Maven fights and in the Tul fight, the Tul fight and stuff like that, you always have your focus up 99.9% of the time, because even on Maven, on the brain phase, you have your focus up. Then you do the memory game. When Maven comes back, you have your focus up. At Sirus, you phase him. When he comes back down, you have your focus up. So you always have your focus up on bosses. Do you have Onslaught? Yes, from the Flask and from the Flask. That's it. Do you have phasing? Yes, from our Ascendancy. Tailwind? Yes, from the boots, because we crit all the time, because we're crit capped. Now we're not crit for the spells, but Detonate Dead is crit capped and hit capped, which is the most important part. Are you elusive? Yes, from the boots, and because we crit a lot. Have you crit recently? Obviously. Is the enemy scorched? Yes. As you saw in the videos, it goes between like 30 to 35%. So I put 35. Is the enemy chilled? Yes, from the skitterbots. Is the enemy brittled? Yes, I put 3%, because in the video it goes from like 3 to 3.7, so I put just 3. But if you can see, if I remove this, say we put 0, look at that. My blast rain crit chance goes from 86% to 100, just with 3% effect of brittle, which is nutty. This is why this this small jewel cluster is so good. Is the enemy shocked? Yes, from our skitterbots. Is the enemy sapped? Yes, you can see it on the screen. Is the enemy covered in ash? Yes, from our blast rain. Enemy boss? Sirus. Yeah. So yeah, this is the POB. There's nothing like I'm cheesing or something. This is like the build as is. It could be more damage if you decide to go with a perfect bow, if you decide to like T1 crit, T1 pen, more attack speed, something like that. Like the gloves, I don't think you can get them better except T1 spell damage. This one could have T1 fire damage and stuff like that, so the quiver could be better. So yeah, there's room for improvements. We can probably go in with a mage blood. But yeah, I think this build is absolutely fantastic. I think this build has the most damage of any build I ever did. I've never killed bosses as fast as this build. And yeah, it is it's a blast to play. I've been playing it for 5 days and I absolutely love it. So that being said, I hope I covered everything. I did this in one take, so if you guys have any questions about the build, how to craft, how does it work or something like that, make sure to drop a comment. I do try to reply to every single comment that you guys leave. And yeah, I do have a Discord, so I'm gonna put the link down in the description so you can join if you want. I stream almost every day on twitch.tv/Dante00151. Again, the link will be in the description if you guys want to show your support, hop by the stream, say hi, that would mean a lot. And yeah, I think that's it. Again, let me know if you think I missed something. If you have any questions, just let me know. Drop by the Discord, leave a comment or whatever. And yeah, I hope you guys find this build interesting and informative. Until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and stay safe.